everyone, and welcome to the second session of Yours Conversation Club. Today we'll be focusing on the basics of communication skill, along with the 7C's which are required to master any communication skill. So before going any further, I would like you to forget any formal definition you have about communication skill, at least for the sake of this lecture. I won't be using any formal definition to explain what the skill is, because this is a social science. It cannot be mastered like mathematics by applying any formula and mastering the communication skill. It's a social skill. The concept must be learned and it must be mastered afterwards, and that is how it's ingrained in your personality. Communication skill existed even during the hunting and gathering society, and they were good communicators because from there onwards we started and embarked on the journey of development, and there we are right now in modern 21st century. Along with explaining the basics of communication skill, we'll be also helping this poor person in the picture to send his message across the wall. And let's see if communication skills can help him to break the wall and send his message across. So for that you need to wait until the end, and we'll be finding out step by step if it's possible to break the wall through the power of communication. In order to understand the definition of what exactly communication skill is, we need to answer two questions. Number one, is communication skill all about good speaking abilities? The answer is no. And I'll give you an example from your childhood. I believe that most of you would have watched Pink Panther or Tom and Jerry, and in that there's almost no speech, but yet it conveys a concrete message in each of the cartoon series. I remember from Pink Panther that Pink Panther loves pink, and his enemy, the white Humpty Dumpty looking guy, is always against him and he wants to paint everything white. Even after such a long period, I do remember a message, even without any speech. So that is why it's a no, that no, only speaking abilities doesn't determine that you're a good communicator. A second example is rather more practical for students, especially in universities, is of boring professors. I remember in my university, I won't be taking my university's name, but it used to be one professor who used to speak for ages, for hours, but most of the students in the lectures were about to sleep, and they were about to say that we're not going to listen to this anymore because it's so boring, because he was not actively communicating. He was a good speaker, but he was not good at communicating with the students. And the students struggled to stay awake. So this is another example that only being good at speaking doesn't mean that you're a good communicator. Now coming to the second question. Being good at expression means you're a good communicator or not? The answer to this is definitely a no. So I guess from the above examples, we can safely deduce that a good communicator has an adequate speaking skills along with well-calibrated expressions. Let me give you an example of what a good calibrated expression means. I'll give you an example from this classroom. If I'm speaking to you and I'm looking towards my right and I'm speaking to you, this makes you think that is he speaking to me? Well, I think sounds okay, he's speaking to me, but he's looking towards his right. So makes you confused, hence brings about a communication gap. On the other hand, if I'm looking straight to the camera, eye contact, facial expression, and speaking, this bridges the gap, and there's a proper calibration between what I'm speaking and where am I looking to the object, which is you. I'm looking, proper expressions, straight, That's called proper calibration. On the other hand, this is not calibration because I'm addressing to the camera but not looking towards there. So that's not what proper calibration of expression is. Proper calibration of expression is when you're looking to the object you're addressing, you're confident with appropriate expressions. That's what a proper calibration consists of. So now, since we have a clear concept about what exactly communication skills means, now let's go on and explain the importance of 7 C's in any communication and how it can help you to achieve an effective communication with anyone. You can see the contents of 7 C's on your screen. Number 1 is being clear. Number 2 is being concise. Number 3 is being concrete. 4 correct, 5 coherent, 6 complete, 7 courteous. So I'll be explaining each of them in detail with examples, with real life examples, which will help you comprehend what exactly what means and where you can apply that and where you can improve yourself in the future when you're communicating with anyone. So the first C I'll start off with is being clear. Being clear is really important in any communication skill. Being clear means you're conveying a central idea for which you're making the communication. For example, if I want to convey to the viewers that today the weather isn't good, I have to be clear. I can't just say that based on this analysis, I think that the weather isn't good because of XYZ. I have to be clear. I don't have to use thousands of words to explain one unclear meaning. I have to be precise. Today, at this time, the weather isn't good or wasn't good. Or for example, if I just want to give a general statement, but still it should convey the clear meaning that I'm speaking about the weather and that it isn't good. So being clear is utmost. You should cross-question yourself after making any statement that whether I conveyed the message for which I was communicating, i.e. the central idea. If the central idea is communicated effectively with exact meaning, mirror image meaning, that means you were clear in your communication, which you made with your boss, your friend, or any person for that reason. The second point I'll be discussing is being courteous. Being courteous is utmost in any communication skill, be it be with a senior in your company or a friend you're speaking to. Being courteous is one of the C's in your communication skill that shows your demeanor, that shows your inner personality of what you are and how you see things in perspective. So being courteous must be the highlight of any communication. Although I'm not trying to say that you have to agree at all material times. There will be times when you disagree, when you agree, not disagree. But there's a way in which you have to put your question across, in which you have to put your reservation across. You can't just say blatantly a no or blatantly what you think without wrapping it in the blanket of courtesy. Let me give you an example. If I don't agree with a news reporter, I have two ways of saying it. I can either say this is a fake news, or I can say that I politely disagree because I don't think so that this news is true in my perspective. So this is how you can see, you can take things. Either you can say blatantly what you think in a slang language or wrapping it up in the blanket of courtesy. So you can see it shows your demeanor, shows your personality, shows who you are, and at the same time you convey your disagreement in a polite manner. Hence you retain your respect as a corporate, as a friend, as a leader, or as a lay person. So you can see the beauty with which you can use courtesy in your communication skill. The third C which I'm going to discuss now is completeness in your conversation. Completeness is utmost, because if you're communicating something which is incomplete, it's going to cast doubt on the listener's voice, because he or she is going to think whether the concept is clear in your mind or not. He's going to cross-question your personality, your abilities, whether that person can comprehend the things which he's asking me. The easiest way to measure if you're communicating completely or not is to first make a rough sketch in your mind of the questions you're going to ask or the information you're going to give. Tally that with what you have in your mind, the purpose of your communication, and then see whether there's any room for the listener to cross-question. If there's no room to cross-question, that means your message is complete. If there is, then sadly you have to revisit your question, revisit your point, and see where exactly you're missing, and you have to complete that by interjecting more information. That's what will make your conversation more complete, and hence you'll be able to achieve the objective of the third C. The other C which I'm going to discuss with you today is being concise. Being concise is really important from one perspective, and that perspective is that the other listener will not have the opportunity to miscomprehend the information which you are giving or misread the question which you are asking. I'll give you an example. For example, you're a lawyer standing in the courtroom. You have to cross-question a witness about where he was at 11 a.m. in the morning. The first question you ask him is that, where were you in the morning? He's going to answer most probably that I was probably sleeping in my room. You ask him again, where were you early in the morning? He's probably going to say that I was having breakfast. So you can see the problem with non-concise questions. You're not getting the things which you're asking, and he has the room to interpret it the way he likes for his convenience. On the other hand, if you ask him a concise question, where were you at around 11 a.m. in the morning? Now you're tightening the room for him to misinterpret. He's going to answer, I was at XYZ place, which is the information you want to elicit. So you can see asking a concise questions or communicating in a concise way, how it helps and how important it can be for you to communicate in that way. So let's now talk about being coherent. Being coherent is really important from one perspective, and that perspective is that it gives a clear structure to your communication. i.e., the listener won't be able to jumble up the information and will have the information in a chronological order. Let me give you an example and a tip as well, a super tip which I always give to my students, and that is that always divide your contents into paragraph, and each paragraph should have a single content. Let's give an example from today's lecture. In first part of the lecture, I was talking about the origins and the basics of communication skills. I didn't talk about 7C's at all. And in the second bit, I'm talking about the 7C's and not about the basics of communication skills. So this gives a coherent structure. A listener will know that in first paragraph, I spoke about the basics. Second paragraph, I'm speaking about the technicalities, i.e. the 7C's. So whoever is listening will have a clear idea about the thing I'm communicating. And it is important to link the first and second paragraph with a cohesive sentence. A sentence that acts like a bridge between the two paragraphs. I'll give you an example of a cohesive sentence in this lecture. For example, I spoke about the communication skills, the basics of communication skills. Second bit is about 7C's. So a good cohesive device can be that let's now discuss the 7C's, which is a further extension of the basics of communication skills. So you can see I'm linking the first paragraph idea to the second paragraph, and it gives a proper structure, a proper flow to the whole content, and hence easy for the listener to comprehend what I'm speaking about. So let's now talk about correctness in your communication skills. Giving a correct information boosts your confidence. For example, if I'm speaking about today's weather and it's raining outside, and if I say it's raining, I would say, yes, it's raining, you can double check it, it's raining outside. On the other hand, if it's raining and I say that it's sunny outside, I would be hesitant. I would say, it's sunny outside, but yes, if you want, you can check it, but I'm not sure if it's raining or sun. So I'll be jumbling up the information. I won't be confident. Quoting a correct information boosts your confidence up to 200%. Because you know that whatever you speak cannot be rebutted, because it is backed up with data, with factual facts. Hence, you're speaking with utmost confidence. You know you are right. Once you know you are right, you can break any barriers. Therefore, whatever you're speaking, you must double check it's correct. It's backed up with a data, backed up with the factual research, backed up with the factual information, so that you're confident and your listeners are confident that whatever you're speaking is correct, and it helps improve your self-confidence as well. So this is all for the 7C's, which we just discussed with real life examples. And by the way, viewers, there's a good news. The picture which we saw just before discussing 7C's, the person trying to send his message across, did listen to today's lecture, and he's able to master the communication skills, and he got his Superman powers back, and he's able to break the barrier of communication and explained what he wanted to explain to the group of people. So congratulations, and I'm happy that my lecture helped him to break the great wall of communication barrier. Anyways, thank you for bearing with me today, and I hope it helped you. And I know you cannot just master these skills by just listening to today's lecture. You have to practice. You have to implement what I said. I'll be also having live interactive sessions, hopefully by the end of this week. If you're interested in having live interactive session to practice, to ask questions, or to further brush up your skills, do comment in the box and let me know. I'll be definitely trying to have a session by the end of this week. Do like and subscribe, and thank you for watching once again. Have a nice day.